Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We have now reached the most anticipated season of the year. It's finally fall! I am a huge fan of fall. Well, to be honest, not at first. Because for someone who's used to like really hot weather, when I moved here, oh my gosh, summer was kind of cool. Not cool metaphorically, but like cool in terms of temperature. Like I was out there wearing hoodies, like what the heck? I didn't really feel the summer heat, but the second time around while experiencing winter, fall, spring, and now summer, we're experiencing summer. Oh my gosh, I couldn't handle it very well as I usually did. I was in so much pain from the heat, and like every time I step outside, I just want to go back. Let's just hope for the best for me when I do visit the Philippines. I don't know if I'm gonna handle that extreme weather conditions. But despite the trees and plants not changing colors, I still like to envision myself doing the fall aesthetic, the fall feeling, the fall vibes. I don't know about you, but during this time I'm more motivated to read books, cozy blankets, sweaters, cardigans, and rewatching your favorite fall TV show. Gossip Girl. Just kidding. We're gonna talk about Gilmore Girls, specifically about Rory's character transition from Chilton Rory to Yale Rory. Yes, I've heard there's a lot of debates and comparisons between Chilton Rory and Yale Rory. Yeah, well, yes, there's a lot of differences between the two characters. So we're gonna dive into that. I'll be explaining the factors that I feel contributed to the sudden change in attitudes and mindset and behavior of our dearest Rory.
Can't finish all this and sleep at the same time.
You have to sleep. It's what keeps you pretty.
Who cares if I'm pretty if I fail my finals?
The beginning of the TV show, Rory is seen as this angelic child whose nose is always in a book, the golden girl who can do no harm. She is perpetually driven in her studies, consistently on top of her game to pursue her lifelong dream to get into Harvard and become a journalist. Rory established an image as this person who's very gifted and somehow we can say as a prodigy. She's the type of student who hungers for reading and knowledge, always acing the tests, and never fails to impress her fellow classmates and teachers. She is widely known in her town as someone who's going to make it big, and she didn't lack support in any of that as people kept praising her for her achievements.
I got a 740 verbal and a 760 math.
Oh, thank God you're not an idiot.
I got a 740 verbal and a 760 math?
Those are damn good scores, little lady. Really. Amazing, top notch. Those are PSA terrific.
We as an audience had high hopes for Rory's success. She displayed a lot of potential and promises that she will make it big. But when the sequel A Year in the Life came out in 2016, she was far from our envisioned trajectory outcome in her life.
I'm broke, busted, beggared. I have no apartment, no car. Hell, my license expired 3 months ago.
Get out of here.
She was a struggling journalist, having unpaid and dead-end jobs, moving back home because she's broke. And the funny thing is, she's not even trying to become successful in her career. Not to mention having an affair with her ex-boyfriend who is now engaged, Logan. Yes, the exact one that she rejected the proposal to in the original Gilmore Girls ending, while being in a relationship with a guy named Paul. Okay, we'll get into the details later, but her character development, or lack thereof, was severely disappointing, and we can't help but wonder what happened to our golden girl. When Rory transferred to Chilton, she was introduced to a newly found competitiveness and educational standard. In there, she met her academic rival slash frenemy, Paris.
I'm going to be editor next year.
Well, good for you.
I'm also the top of the class, and I intend to be valedictorian when I graduate.
Okay, I'm going now.
You'll never catch up. You'll never beat me.
Who shares the same passion and creativity in studious matters. Both objectively are running for class valedictorian, to which, unfortunately for Paris, Rory received that honor. Furthermore, Rory got accepted to both Yale and Harvard, whereas Paris, whose dream is also to get into Harvard, and a supposed to be legacy for 10 generations of the Geller family, was shockingly not accepted. Which of course is very tragic for Paris, as we all know that she is very high achieving and like very demanding, bossy kind of person, and like this is very tragic for her. This is a very big disappointment and setback for her. And I know we all have been rooting for her, like never mind being valedictorian, but the least that they could give her is to be accepted to the university of her dreams, you know? So
have you seen how hard I've worked over these past 4 years? I mean, can anyone here believe that I'm not going to Harvard? I can't. I'm not going to Harvard. I am not going to Harvard.
But being the blunt and in a way somehow optimistic and resilient person she is, what a normal high achiever person would do is to research the statistics of valedictorian success.
I actually Googled the personal histories of Ivy League valedictorians going back 25 years and found some enlightening statistics. They don't necessarily do too well in later life. Did you know that?
No?
Oh, yeah. A lot of business failure, crumbled marriages, suicides, obesity.
Okay.
A bunch died in car crashes. Several did time. One suffocated when his cat fell asleep on his face.
Okay, well, thanks again.
This is where she gathered the information that can be perceived as an overshadow to Rory's future. Gifted child as definition as what Laura Grace Palai would describe as being gifted is different from being smart, as the former means naturally and effortlessly excellent in an area, while the latter takes discipline and hard work to become one. We can trace this back to understand what sets Rory and Paris apart. Rory is the gifted child who thrives naturally without much effort, while Paris is the smart one who must make this necessary extended push in order to get the things that she wants to achieve. Furthermore, Palai elaborated in her article stating, "Although I am well aware how often I get praises from other people that I am indeed gifted, talented, smart, and someone who has great potential. Because I was so acquainted with these praises, eventually I believed them to be true. Not until I went to college where I found myself as normal as anybody else is." This particular occurrence is so similar to what was happening to Rory during her Yale days. When she graduated valedictorian at Chilton, we have high hopes for Rory's success. But by the time she went into college, we see her slowly falling apart. To illustrate, when her professor advised her to drop a class out of concern for the amount of workload she could handle because her grade was dropping, she didn't take it too well. She compared herself to her grandfather, who took the same number of courses, but was able to manage just fine. And because of her desire to attain that same level of achievement, with of course the pressures of what was expected of her, she couldn't accept that she works in a different pace than her standard, which is her grandfather.
I think you should drop this course. You still have a couple of weeks left before the end of the drop period. You can take the course again when you have more time to devote to it.
My grandfather took the same workload when he went here.
Well, different people work at different paces.
According to a 2019 study conducted by Journal for the Education of the Gifted, when students are labeled as gifted at a young age, it instills these perfectionist ideals. If they don't live up to these expectations, they are seen as a failure. For most of Rory's life, she has been told that she was naturally gifted and special, that when she was put in a place with a variety of people who are just like her, she didn't take kindly to the change of standards, competitiveness, and criticism. She's always had this expectation that everything will just come naturally to her, that when one minor setback happens, it feels as if it's all too much for Rory. In comparison to Paris, who is used to this sort of competitiveness because at an early age, she needed to have that hustle and bustle nature for her to receive attention and validation from her parents. Paris's early rejections in life made her even more determined to reach her goals, despite the unexpected outcomes that were thrown at her. But in defense of Rory, one Reddit user said, "I felt like in some ways it was realistic. College is a totally different environment for kids. And even though they are 18 when they start college, they are still kids in a lot of ways. It was a new environment. She wasn't coming to Stars Hollow at the end of the day. She was on campus, away from what she had known. College, especially freshman year, can be full of so much pressure. A lot of it is self-imposed, as it was with Rory. She said, "My grandfather took this many classes, so she felt like she was supposed to do the same thing Richard did, to prove she was a Gilmore." She was probably dealing with a bit of imposter syndrome too, as some college students experience at times. Rory had not really had a lot of moments of failure, and this felt like a failure to her. In Mike Robbins's How to Embrace Disappointment and Learn from It states that disappointment, as uncomfortable and even painful as it can be for many of us, is essential on our journey of growth, self-discovery, and authenticity. He furthermore adds that resilience helps us recover and move on from difficulties, face challenges, and grow stronger each time we experience stress or pressure. When we go through a disappointment, it helps us grow, adapt, and make goals to become better in the future. The issue with Rory is she dwells on that criticism and doesn't have the initiative to get back on her feet. And when she does, she doesn't have the same success rate as those of her peers. We've seen Rory acting out throughout the series, but it was clear from the start of season 4 that she's become aware of her privileges that resulted to obnoxious entitlement.
Wake up, Rory, whether you like it or not, you're one of us. You went to prep school, you go to Yale. Your grandparents are building a whole damn astronomy building in your name.
That is different, okay? It's not like I live off a $5 million trust fund my parents set up for me.
Yeah, well, you're not exactly paying rent either.
Most of Rory's achievements stem mainly from nepotism. Her grandparents were rich, and so she had all these connections to get her into a good school and be able to study freely without the burden of student loans. Rory's superiority complex hinders her from seeing people eye to eye. She lacks understanding and empathy, especially in her personal relationships. This can be seen a lot in her relationship with Dean because Dean is not that aspirational and has no plans for college. She had disapproving opinions because that's not the route that she envisioned for him. It even goes as far as villainizing Dean's wife, Lindsay, for not allowing Dean to have the freedom to attend school. Which, like, Rory, that is out of your business. As opposed to smart book enthusiast Jess, who shares the same intelligence as Rory, making her see him more as an equal, and therefore as a result, hence why they have a stronger bond connection. The sense of entitlement cannot go unnoticed when she was having dinner with Logan's family. She was scolded for having inadequate status and being deemed as not good enough for the heir of the Huntsberger fortune. She compared herself to Logan's sister's boyfriend, that she is much better off in terms of social and economic status than him.
I mean, I'm a Gilmore. Do they know that? And why are they okay with Josh? I mean, he doesn't even say anything. At least I noticed the Velasquez.
Josh isn't marrying the heir of the Huntsberger fortune, you are.
Consequently, to make up for the family's hostile treatment towards Rory, Mitchum offered her an internship at a local newspaper. She initially declines but eventually accepts the offer. When she entered the workforce, Rory thought the internship was going well, until she had a sit-down talk with Mitchum and talk about her progress. Expecting to be praised and adored like she was accustomed to, she was instead told that she didn't have what it takes.
You don't got it. Now, guts can be wrong. Mine's been wrong before.
I've always done what's asked of me.
See, the thing is, in the real world, it's not always good enough to do just what's asked of you.
According to WebMD, a superiority complex is likely to make you feel overconfident in your abilities. You may not work hard enough to achieve your goals, and failure may make you feel especially bad. That was the peak transition from Chilton Rory to Yale Rory, and everything just went spiral later on. After being criticized for her work ethics, she decided to drop out of Yale and steal a boat with her also rich and privileged boyfriend Logan, which of course got her in trouble. She was sentenced 300 hours of community service, which we heard endless complaints about. She then got a job at the DAR, something that we never would have thought to happen since she and her mother perpetually expressed their distaste to anything related to her grandparents' lavish lifestyle. Okay, we're back to our usual spot. I apologize for this change of setting and quality because my memory card was full. Hopefully it won't interrupt with the quality of the video, but you know, it's the discussion that counts. To continue, it was not until Jess pointed out the famous exaggerated "why did you drop out of Yale" scene.
I know you better than anyone. This isn't you.
I don't know.
What are you doing? Living at your grandparents' place? Being in the DAR? No, Yale. Why did you drop out of Yale?
The Rory finally had her senses together and took a step back and examined how what her life has become. But her superiority complex was presented when she indirectly blamed Logan for her mistakes.
I didn't tell you to quit Yale. You did that. I gave you 1 month, you went beyond a month, and it had nothing to do with me. It was all you. Now you want to change it, but don't blame me. Don't you dare blame me.
One Reddit user said, Paris and Lorelai agreed that Logan and his crowd are a bad influence on Rory, but it seems like that crowd doesn't pressure her to do anything bad, like stealing the yacht or dropping out of Yale. Logan even says how he gives Rory a week until she's back at school. They just don't have the same expectations for her to be the shining star that Lorelai and her grandparents expect her to be. It seems like her actions are really a result of her not being around people who hold her up to high standards rather than people pressuring her to break the law or drop out of school. Season 1, Rory had little to no mistakes, or if there was, she wasn't really held accountable. This probably may be the reason why there's like a continuous rebellion streak that came from not being able to do stuff as she pleases in the earlier seasons. She was evidently a people pleaser and sought out high standards for herself. Then when she saw an opportunity, even just a hint of rebellion, accompanied with the devastation of judgment from others, she finally lets go of that put-up front and explored the ways of the unknown side.
She was supposed to have more than me. She was supposed to have everything. That was the plan.
Similar to Rory, Lorelai was also put under a lot of pressure with expectations. Lorelai had this rocky relationship with her parents. She perceives them as controlling and would often criticize every move she makes. To which the reason why there's like no relationship between them and Lorelai and Rory in the beginning of the season, except for like visits during the holidays, but as far as bonding connection is concerned, that is totally non-existent. Hence why Lorelai is more of a best friend to Rory rather than a mom. She doesn't want to have that relationship that she had with her parents and wanting to do things differently with Rory. You could somehow say that Rory is more of a parent than Lorelai. I mean, Lorelai had Rory when she was 16, and in the beginning of the show, she was 32, and we still see her as this bubbly, childlike parent, like the cool mom. I'm not like a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. Even her own parents think so. They still see her as this lost teenage girl who is incapable of doing her own things and making decisions, disregarding the fact that Lorelai is already an adult. She is 32. She's like frozen at 16 in their eyes, and it may be so for Lorelai as well. She has been the only sole active parent of Rory ever since. While Rory's father, Christopher, may occasionally show up in a few episodes, but only when it seemed convenient for him, leaving to disappoint both Lorelai and Rory every time. This may also be the reason why she has problems with her romantic relationships. She was still dating Dean when she cheated on him with Jess. I mean, she could have told Dean when she kissed Jess and not let both of the guys astray. But Rory was kind of selfish. But eventually, she started dating Jess while simultaneously being friends with Dean, which Jess made clear that he was not comfortable with the so-called friendship. And here's the infuriating part. After Jess left and basically ghosted Rory due to personal issues, Dean at the time was married to Lindsay. And do you know what Little Miss Perfect Rory did with Dean? They proceeded to disregard the sanctity of marriage. In short, she cheated. They cheated on Lindsay. Can you see the pattern? Rory cheated on Dean in the first place, and now she's cheating with Dean. Going back to her parents' relationship, for most of her life, she sees her mom getting in and out of relationships, specifically with Christopher. According to psychology, people will fall into one of the 3 attachment styles as adults. One is secure, having well-adjusted expectations and approaches to relationships. Second is anxious, exhibiting fear of abandonment. Or third, avoidant, preferring to retain their independence from others. Based on the care and attention Rory receives from her father, or lack thereof, we can say and see that Rory exhibits the anxious attachment style. It was evident when she cheated on Dean with Jess. Instead of owning up to her mistakes and let one go, she led both of them on. The cheating wasn't just a one-time thing. In a year in the life, Rory was in a relationship with a guy named Paul, which she then proceeds to treat badly and makes fun of him behind his back. And also cheating on him with her ex-college boyfriend Logan Huntsberger, who at the time is engaged. According to the article by Kathy Meyer on reasons women cheat in relationships, stating, quote, people who identify with anxious and avoidant attachment styles are more likely to display characteristics that interfere with a healthy romantic relationship. Moreover, they're more likely to cheat, as they seek out reassurance from a third-party partner or attempt to avoid the intimacy of the primary relationship. There's always a sense of what's on the other side and never fully being happy or secure in oneself. This type of person may struggle to be happy in any relationship. It's honestly so sad to see Rory's journey, especially in the sequel. I mean, the ending of the original Gilmore Girls was a good cliffhanger because despite of all of those mistakes, she still had a lot of potential. But a year in the life confirmed that she didn't really grow and learn from her mistakes. I was actually satisfied when I saw Rory making all of these mistakes because let's be real, season 1 Rory is not that realistic. Like, no child is not that well behaved. I mean, depending on your definition of well behaved. But it's really satisfactory to see her downfall. I mean, not that I'm wishing for our main character to be wasted away, but in a sense, I feel like she's more relatable to see her being criticized, not getting what she wants, and dropping out of school. I mean, it's not natural, but you know, we all have those days. We all have those days. It breaks the barrier of film magic and reality. Like, she represents a lot of young adolescents that have absolutely no idea what they're doing with their lives. Especially for me, I really found comfort that certain life disappointments, especially if things didn't turn out the way you planned, I've really found comfort in that it really happens to people. But contrarily, most people find a way to break through that obstacle and make something of themselves. Unlike Rory, who had every opportunity to grow and develop as a character, but instead she decided to take on the other route. But one takeaway that I could get from all of this, to be fair, Rory had just started doing her own thing. Ever since she was little, her life was already planned out, and I think she found reassurance to take on this path. I mean, dreams change and plans change. The dream that you had when you were 3 doesn't really mean that it's gonna be your dream forever. In a year in the life, Jess pitched in an idea that Rory should write a book about her life.
You should write a book.
Ugh, thanks for the Naomi Shropshire flashbacks. Lovely.
And I know what you should write.
What?
You should write about you and your mom.
Not exactly in the journalism field, but still, they correlate. She titled her autobiography Gilmore Girls. And it's one of those mind-boggling moments that the show was created in the first place because it was inspired from Rory's novel, which I personally feel is a good ending, but wait, it gets better. The sequel closes with Rory telling her mom she's pregnant, exactly the same age that Lorelai was on the first season of Gilmore Girls, giving an affectionate value to the theme song, Where You Lead, I Will Follow.
Mom?
Yeah.
I'm pregnant.
And as Goffin told BuzzFeed, there's no distance too far to go to be with your child. And the theme song of the Gilmore Girls truly stands the test of time. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I hope you guys were very much enlightened with the subject for today. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell button, and comment down below what you think of this video. And if you have any suggestions and topics that you want me to cover, comment down below. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye!